Hi folks, welcome back to the Hoard. So it's about noon 30. It is 1916. About 40 degrees out here, give or take a foot and a half. Welcome to Saturday. For my friends overseas, particularly in Canada, 4 degrees Celsius, 69% humidity. Kind of overcast, so don't have full charge batteries, and look at that, no moon. I've been asked this question a couple of times, and I'm going to try to answer it in a way that makes sense, and I'm going to try to talk quickly so that folks could kind of keep up. I've been asked about 250 ES, Honda Big Red 250 ES wiring. That comes in 2 different flavors, and let me show you. This is a 1986 unit. Notice the square plug. They call these 2x4s because 2 on top, 4 on the bottom. So you got this one variety. Take note of that. Pay attention. So you got that. And then there's a second variety. Making these videos is always good for me because it gets me into these sheds and it reminds me what I own. I covered that up so the motor doesn't get wet. So whilst that was over here, that was another piece of progress. So that's one form. And the second form is, you notice, a round plug, right? So those are the 2 different kind of CDIs that you have. To go a step further, what these Big Reds and the TRX 250s are known for, right? If you take this cover off, you get the stator, and what you have is the stator is in oil, and you have a flywheel that goes by the stator, which is in oil. If you grind the hell out of the starter, or you grind the hell out of the gears, you end up with metal in the oil, and the amount of space between the flywheel and the stator is very small. So what happens is, given that the flywheel's a magnet, where's the oil going? Or where's the metal going? It's going right to the magnet. And I just happen to have one off here. So as you're spinning around, the metal particles kind of get in between here. And eventually you'll get a particle in here that's big enough that it literally kills the stator. It kind of grinds these up, and like this one here is seized. I mean, chances are it's really not a piston seize. Chances are what's wrong with it is it's probably got metal in here. And what I got to do is I got to take that apart and figure out what its problem is, but you guys could see how close I've gotten to that. Anyway, how do we wire these? No matter what, this is your stator, right? Only these 2 big coils here, these 2, only those 2 big coils there, they're the ones that will be powering your ignition system. All these other coils here, they're just for charging the battery, lights, so forth. So, and basically these 2 guys go together, and what comes out of that is this red wire, right? So this black and red wire is your stator wire. You notice your green and your green and white. What are they hooked to? Ground. So that would make your green and green and white ground. That leaves you 1 wire left, and it's blue and white, and it goes to this thing here, right? You can see where it goes. What is that? That's the pulse generator. So, these are the only wires you care about, right? This guy, all yellow wires, that just means, and you got 3 of them, so you have yourself a 3-phase alternator. This will eventually work its way to the regulator, and from the regulator, once you plug this into the regulator, you should have a red wire that comes out of the regulator and a green wire that comes out of the regulator, and they are your hot and your ground, and they go to the battery. These guys got to get to the pulse generator, or these guys got to get to the CDI unit, right? And if you have the square plug CDI unit, right, with the body off to the side, right, looking at the back of the CDI, so you're looking into the plug of the CDI, you hit the black and red, right there. Of course, I gotta wear gloves. So, black and red, see the finger, right? That is on the upper left-hand side of the 2x4. The on and off wire, black and white, that should be an open circuit. Eventually, once you get up here to your on and off switch, and depending on the bike, sometimes it messes with, it's got to get to the on and off switch. Let's forget about the, depending on the bike. Forget I said that. The next 2 wires, right? Green and red. Sometimes it's green and white. These guys are ground, right? See the little ground there and the little ground there. Blue and yellow is the pulse generator. Black and yellow goes to the ignition coil. So it goes to one side of the ignition coil, the other side goes to ground. Going to your pulse generator, right? One side is blue and yellow, right? And if you were to take this all apart, you'd realize the other side of the pulse generator is at ground, right? Green and red is ground, pure green is ground. Black and white, once again, you want that opened, but on the other side of your on and off switch is ground, so that when you close your switch, you put the black and white to ground, which turns off your motor, kills your spark. So, if you're probing the back of your CDI unit, and you find, once again, where the black and wire goes in, it's hooked to ground, and you have no spark, you should go Eureka and figure out why it's shorted and make it unshorted, and hopefully your spark comes right back. Black and red goes to your stator, which eventually goes to these 2 wires, and once again, black and red right here. Right, black and yellow we already talked about. So that's your 2x4 square looking at the back of the CDI. If you have a 1985 unit, right, and they made this conversion, definitely 86 has the square guys, and they actually did the conversion, according to what I read up, late in 1985. So this is for 1985. And look at this right up here, black and yellow. Where does it go? Ignition coil, right? This is the round unit looking at the back of the CDI. Black and red goes to the stator. The other side of the stator is at ground. Black and white goes to your on and off switch. Once again, you want that open. These bottom 2, your bottom right 2, green and red, they got to be hooked to ground. And that just leaves blue, yellow off on the left-hand side, lower corner, which goes to your pulse generator, that guy, and to ground. That's all there is to wiring these up. Let me see if I can kind of back off. Hopefully you guys could see this. Let me do it such a way that there's actually some light on it. This time of the year, it's a little hard with where the sun is hiding. Anyway, hopefully you guys could see that. Once again, looking at the back of the CDI, right? the long side going out that way. And you guys could see all that, hopefully. Kind of scan around a little bit. And hopefully you could read my writing. At any point, you guys could obviously stop. This is the 1986. This is the 1985. Once again, round plug. Looking at the back of the CDI. Alright, so given this, if I brought one home and it wasn't locked up, and basically I'm standing there and I'm looking at these wires, whether or not these connectors are on them or not, what I would do is, first of all, you want to make sure none of these wires are shorted together, because you have quite a bit of juice coming out of there. I think these things are good for somewhere around 100 watts. Once again, I would make sure these aren't hooked together. You're going to burn these coils up, and depending how much burning up you do, you might burn your ground off, which means you're going to lose spark. So you really want these wires floating. If you are not hooking everything up, just leave these floating. Unplug it from your regulator, leave these floating. So the yellow wires hanging in the sky. So look at that. You already got 3 out of your 7 wires disconnected. Then I would get my pit bike CDI, right? Once again, ground, green. One ground goes to the body, and obviously I'm being sloppy when I do that. And the other ground, which I have the black wire to, right? They gotta go, that has to hook up to the green and white. Right? How's this for being sloppy? Bang! Done! That's simple. Here's your on and off switch, right? It's already hooked into the back of this thing. Here's my ignition coil. And look at that. I'm lucky. It's already hooked up onto this thing, right? Where all these wires go together. One of them, they're nice enough to hook the ignition coil. And then look, there's black and yellow right to the ignition coil. So, once again, I got a ground hooked to the body. All I have to do is hook this on to the spark plug. Got 2 wires left. Blue and white. I just got to make sure this hooks to the blue and white. And how's that for sloppy? I'm going to slam it. Right on the blue and white. Obviously, you want the insulation off, or it ain't going to work. And that leaves you black and red. I just hooked the black and red right up here. Once again, a little sloppy. Bang! Right to black and red. And then what I would do is I would either directly hook this up to the electric starter, assuming I'm sure that it's not seized up or doesn't have metal and all that other crap in there. Or if some of the wiring's hooked up, I'd push the button and hopefully it should go round and round. Or if I didn't want to screw with any of that, I'd kickstart it. That's all. That's all it takes to make these things go. Questions, please ask. Once again, this is the $18 pit bike ignition. That's all there is to it. Simple piece of cake. Smash it on there and let it go. Questions, please ask. I hope it helps. Folks, I want to thank you all for watching and commenting and subscribing. Remember to keep your feet down, keep your head up, and guys and gals. And if there's a cat sitting on somebody's shoulder or a dog sitting on somebody's shoulder, dogs, pets, let's go with pets. Please enjoy all your days. Get out there and have fun. Bye now.